All right, let's dive into this incredible, kind of hidden network that's basically running the whole show inside your brain. It's a master controller working behind the scenes, and today we're going to pull back the curtain.
You ever just stop and wonder what it is that actually flips the switch in your head in the morning? From being completely out of it to suddenly being awake? What powers up your consciousness and gets you ready to face the day? Or how about this? How does your body manage all those critical survival functions, like your heart rate, your breathing, all without you ever having to consciously think about it, even when you're fast asleep?
And what acts as the bouncer for your brain? The gatekeeper that decides which of the millions of things you see, hear, and feel gets a VIP pass to your attention, and which stuff just gets ignored.
Well, the answer to all of these questions is this absolutely fascinating structure called the reticular formation. Now, it's not some single spot you can point to on a map. It's more like a diffuse, net-like web of neurons that's woven all throughout your brainstem. You can think of it as your brain's unsung hero, its ultimate survival control network. So this network has a few really big jobs. First, let's look at what we call its ascending wake-up call, which is handled by a really important part of the network known as the ARS. You got to think of the reticular formation like a two-way street. On one side, you have the ascending pathway, where signals travel up to the rest of your brain. This part is called the Ascending Reticular Activating System, or ARAS for short. This is the system that delivers that wake-up call and brings your conscious mind online. To put it simply, the ARS is basically mission control for your state of awareness. It's what keeps you conscious and alert, it governs your sleep-wake cycle, and it directs your attention, letting you focus on whatever's important in the moment. And this really drives home just how critical it is. The function of the ARS is so fundamental to being alive and aware that if it gets significantly damaged, a person can fall into a coma. Consciousness itself is at risk. That's just how vital this system is. Okay, so let's move to the other side of the street. Now we're looking at the descending pathways. These are the signals that the reticular formation sends down from the brain to control your body's posture and movement. These pathways are called the reticulospinal tracts, and they are the master coordinators that keep your body upright and moving. They're constantly adjusting your muscle tone, maintaining your balance so you don't just fall over, and helping coordinate your movements based on everything you're seeing, hearing, and feeling. And because these tracts are so important for controlling pretty much all the muscles that keep you standing, when things go wrong here, the results can be really dramatic. In fact, they provide clear, visible clues to doctors about exactly where an injury in the brainstem might be. Clinicians look for two key signs, and the difference all comes down to where the injury is located relative to a little part of the midbrain called the red nucleus. If the damage is above it, we see something called decorticate posturing, where the arms flex inward towards the body's core. But if the damage is below it, we see decerebrate posturing, where all four limbs rigidly extend out. Okay, so it wakes you up, and it holds you up. But the reticular formation has another job that's a bit more subtle, but honestly, it's just as critical. It acts as the brain's master information filter. It's responsible for a process called habituation. This is the whole reason you can tune out the constant hum of an air conditioner, right? Your reticular formation decided that sound wasn't important. But if that AC unit suddenly clicks off, you notice the silence immediately. That's because the change was important. It also works like the volume knob for pain. Now, the ascending signals are what bring pain to your conscious awareness. But, and this is the incredible part, it also has descending pathways that can actually block pain signals down at the spinal cord through something called the gate control mechanism. It can literally turn down the volume on pain. And, this quote just sums it all up perfectly. This system's ultimate job, its reason for being, is to constantly scan your world, inside and out, and decide what is worth your brain's precious, limited attention, all to ensure your survival. So, given its massive influence over consciousness, movement, and all this sensory filtering, it's really no surprise that when this network fails, the consequences are huge. They're linked to a whole lot of different clinical disorders. I mean, just take a quick look at some of the big ones where this network plays a key role. We're talking about everything from consciousness disorders like coma to movement disorders like Parkinson's, and even psychiatric conditions like PTSD and schizophrenia. The fingerprints of the reticular formation are just everywhere. And we can actually trace these symptoms to specific parts of the network. For example, in both Parkinson's and PTSD, a lot of the problem seems to start in a nucleus called the locus coeruleus. It's a major hub for alertness, and that helps explain issues with posture, sleep, and hyperarousal. In narcolepsy, we see a loss of these key activating chemicals called orexins, which leads to those sudden, uncontrollable sleep attacks.
So, the real takeaway here is this. The reticular formation isn't just one simple structure. It is the fundamental sprawling network that our very existence is built on. It keeps you awake, keeps you breathing, keeps you moving, and keeps you focused on what truly matters. And that really leaves us to wonder, doesn't it, about the incredibly delicate and complex nature of our own awareness. It's a powerful reminder of how intricately our sense of self is tied to the quiet, constant, hidden work of this incredible network deep inside our brains.